Welcome back, everybody, to the Tangent Podcast with the Drunken News Game Show. Maestro, take it away.
30-second three-way?
30-second three-way? I don't know if we're going to do this.
I don't think we are.
Steve, you're not ready for this?
I'm not ready.
I mean, I'm disappointed. But I guess, if you guys want to wait, then we wait. But
y'all ready for this?
it could just get really weird really quickly.
It already is.
Yeah, it's already fucking weird. It's like we've got this intimate thing going on between you and I.
I feel like we just need a candle, maybe some spaghetti.
Anyways, so what do we got for news? Maestro, who's the maestro this week? We're doing this weird thing where we're just kind of picking stories out of the news.
Off right now.
Off the cuff. Gary, give me an off the cuff news story.
All right, so I got a couple stories here. First one we'll start off with, because this is the game that we talked about during, was it PlayStation or was it Ubi?
Are we talking about Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Yeah.
That's an Ubisoft joint.
That's an Ubi shit game. All right. So Ubisoft 2017 E3 Beyond Good and Evil 2 had to be very, very big.
Well, yeah, it did. After the debacle of 2008 or 9 when they showed the CG trailer and it disappeared for 9 years.
Yep. So speaking to IGN at E3, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot.
Perfect.
And French.
Killing it.
I'm pretty much fluent
now.
Yeah.
And
French Studios managing director Xavier Pol.
Sure.
Explained that they didn't want to reveal the game before it was ready because they knew it had to be something huge. And that creator-director, Michael Ansel, had a very particular vision. We are ecstatic about the possibility to really come with something totally different from what has been done before, Guillemot told IGN. Michael is really creating a new engine for the game, and his ambition is just, it's just high. I would say very high. So we think we are going to be able to create something that will be outstanding.
All right. So that sounds like a lot of buzzwords.
Yeah.
For a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. They talk about how they needed to do it in space, and there needs to be planets, and they need to go massive and do something different. This scares the shit out of me compared to why not say to the formula that made Beyond Good and 2 or
Beyond Good and Evil.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 1
also
very good.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now, where as of right now, there's just a lot of hype around this game because people are just genuinely excited. If you've played the first game, you like the first game. That game is hard to hate. It was well received back in 2001 when it came out, and it's just been a long time. People have wanted a sequel for this game for so long. It's a cult classic, and you can't fuck it up. And a good way to not fuck it up is to just stick to the formula, aka what's the new Star Wars movie? Force Awakens. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's too much like A New Hope," but everyone fucking loved the movie. Who cares? Oh my goodness, you contrarian. Sit down.
Prequels all the way.
You're holding me back.
Out of his mouth.
But that's what I'm saying. You just stick with the formula that you already have, that people know what the game is about, and you just elaborate a little bit on it. Make everything about that better. Don't try to be too ambitious and then fall flat on your face. This game it has the traction right now, but it seems like they haven't developed anything for it, unless I'm missing some sort of behind the door.
They go on to talk about the engine that it's on. So I'll read this next paragraph. So if we were to make Beyond Good and Evil 2 at some point, we needed something very, very big. For years and years we thought about it, but the game had to be enormous. It had to be...
Why?
It had to be in space. It had to be with planets. It had to be. So we created this technology called Voyager that's enabled us at least to get this feeling of traveling in space, going from one planet to another, to go from your ship to the bigger ship, to go out of your ship and be a normal person. That's the technology we've been working on for 3 years. It sounds like a bunch of
malarkey.
It's huge, big, grand, wonderful planets, ships, traveling. And it's to me, that just sounds way too big for this guy they've created their new engine for this game. It just sounds like a lot of promises, and they couldn't show anything. Mm-hmm. And didn't we say they were asking for some money and stuff like that?
What they were doing was they wanted you to sign up for this website to basically show that you're supporting them, is what it seemed like. But I mean, if you could imagine that, though, think about that for a second, right? Let's say you're on the Citadel, right, in Mass Effect, and you seamlessly hop into the Normandy, and then you seamlessly go from the Normandy to a planet, and then walk around that planet. That's really cool. That's like a really cool idea to do. It's very ambitious, and I don't like a game like this doing that.
No.
You want to have a fucking
Leave that to
AAA.
No Man's Sky.
Yeah, you want a AAA studio to do that, like to experiment with a new IP. Great. Don't fuck this up. Like this.
Yeah, 'cause
That's the
if
thing.
They don't. If this game is a piece of shit, we're never going to see Beyond Good and Evil again.
That's the problem. That is the problem. Like you can't fuck that up. And if you're trying to be too ambitious, you're going to, and that's not going to be good for Beyond Good
A lot
and
of
Evil.
huges, a lot of bigs,
Yeah.
a lot of expansions.
The only thing I promise is 4 inches. Nothing more.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the only thing that we can promise you, listener.
What else you got, Gary?
Me again? All right. So we're going to now kind of venture into the land
No
of
Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
There's No Man's Sky out there.
So Phil Spencer has now come out and he's been doing a couple interviews after E3. And the first article here is Phil Spencer talks about Xbox One X potentially being held back by PS4 deals that they have. So it goes on to say Microsoft officially revealed the Xbox One X. It's a lot of X's.
Let's just do X1X.
X1 X. We learned this week that Destiny 2 will run at 30 FPS on Xbox One X, just as it will on the PS4 Pro. But it's unclear if that frame rate is a result of hardware restrictions or because Sony, through its partnership with Activision, would not allow this game to run better on rival hardware. Head of Xbox Phil Spencer joined this discussion and began regarding the potential for games technology performance to be held back due to such an arrangement. He noted that he was not aware of that happening, but he said that he thinks it would be really bad for the industry. I'm going to struggle to not get myself into trouble on this one, he said. I'll just say I don't know anything about other development deals. You mentioned some things around clauses and stuff like that I don't know anything about, but if anybody was to do a deal to hold back technology innovation on a video game anywhere else, that doesn't feel good for the industry to me.
Does it run at 30 FPS on the PC? I'll answer that. It does not.
No, it doesn't.
Fuck him. I don't know. What's holding back the Xbox One X is the price. I mean,
it's true.
there have been situations in the past with consoles where stuff like this has for sure occurred.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this
I don't
is
think
one of
there's
the
a lot
cases.
there. I think it's just this reporter or journalist that have been talking about, why? Because the X1X can indeed run 60 frames per second. For some games, we're still finding out that a lot of games are still at 30. But the explanation I feel that came from Bungie in regards to the situation was that they wanted to ensure they were trying to make their game for consoles, and they didn't want to switch it up because the only one that out of those three, when I say the Xbox One, the PS4, and the PS4 Pro have to run at 30 frames per second. They weren't going to just make this one version for Xbox One X when the Xbox One X comes out 2 months after the game releases.
I think it's just a matter of resource allocation. They don't want to spend the extra time for what is essentially no one owns it. There's no Xbox One X's out there. Its fucking name sucks.
Also, by the way, it's not
really sucks to
FCC
say.
approved yet. By
What's
the
that?
way, the Xbox One X is not FCC approved yet, so it's not. They can't give a release date. Well, they have a release date for it, but I don't think they should have done that because it's not approved by the FCC yet as like an official product. 1, 2. Bungie making Destiny 60 frames per second. One is just more work for everybody because at the end of the day, like let's say if the Xbox One X can handle it and the PS4 Pro can't, they're not going to split their base, their install base by going like, hey, it's best on Xbox One X because it can run at 60 frames per second. The problem is that they already have a partnership with Sony, so there's no way that they can go ahead and do that to Sony. They're already in contract with them. Do I think that that's bad for the industry? Absolutely.
I just don't think they want to go through the work of making sure
I agree.
it hits 60. They know, like, let's just make sure it hits 30 on everything.
Yep, and then we're good to go.
And then we're good
Moving
to go.
maybe Destiny 3, we do that type of thing. And I completely agree with you. Is that it is, because, like you said, it's a matter of where they want to put their resources. And with Microsoft, they said like, hey, when you buy the Xbox One X, if you own these 5 games, it was like Gears of War 5 or Gears of War 4, Forza Horizon, like a few other games, or Halo 5. It was like, these games will run at 60 frames per second. And it's like, that's great. And you've clearly been working on that for a little while. But that's not really going to help you in the long term unless you have other developers making their games 60 frames per second, and they're not going to do that because most developers now are third parties are like partnering with Sony, and maybe Sony saw this curve and maybe they were like, oh, they're going to do that, let's get all the third parties, and then they won't, they'll have to just kind of
like they can't
conform to
us.
If
we have all the partnerships.
If we have all the cards, exactly. Which is like Phil Spencer said, like, hey, I don't want to say this, but it's shitty for the industry, and I agree to it. Some sort of.
I feel like there's got to be some sort of truth to it because he stated how like I really don't want to get myself in trouble here. Like just saying something like that, like
Sure.
I feel like he's insinuating something. But I mean, it is what it is. The game Destiny 2 comes out 2 months after on PC and it runs at 60 frames. So if I want to play Destiny, I'll be on PC.
I could see something like this turning into like a 2D, not 2D, DSi situation, or even like an N64 expansion pack situation, where it's just there's these new features, but no one's really gonna make a game focus solely on that because you're splitting. I mean, we talked about this before, but
with the PS4 Pro, that's the whole thing. Is that like
even the PS4 Pro is creating the same problem, which is something I'm not particularly a fan of. I don't like this mid iteration of a console like upgrade.
Yeah, this is like a weird. It's not like it doesn't feel like a new console because it really isn't.
It isn't. It's the same platform with better hot.
It's a weird upgrade from like the Xbox One X makes sense, right? Or S, sorry.
S.
The S makes sense. You get the 4K Blu-ray player, you get everything faster, it's smaller, it's nicer. The PS4 Slim makes sense. It's smaller, it reduces load times a little bit. That makes sense. The PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, I am not a big fan of, and I'm not against making jumps in technology. It's just like, how long ago did these consoles come out? 2013? It's been 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, maybe wait and keep
I would
doing
think,
some
like-
R&D and
like
do the Xbox 2 and
4
the
years,
Xbox
like,
or PS5.
Start announcing things like what's coming, or 5 years. Like, I think you got to give it that grace period and then make that jump so it's like this is something new.
Yeah.
Because right now I think everyone's kind of just stuck, and even the developers are stuck because they're like, what am I making now we have a Switch? Like what the hell am I doing?
And I think what's weird too is like I think the Xbox One X makes sense like power wise. Like, oh yeah, this is something that is definitely more powerful and will probably do 4K for the most part fine. And then you get the but the price is wrong, I think.
Oh yeah.
And then but you get the PS4 Pro, which the price is right, but the power is not enough
For the
to
need
push
to
the
have
next gen, the next gen situation. So, and then now you're just putting developers in weird spots. If the PS4 Pro and the Xbox X were matched power wise, and
would be
regardless of
better.
price necessarily, it would create a better situation. It would be a rematch up, really.
I feel like Sony just did the PS4 Pro to ensure like their VR would take off like more than
Well, we have this weird thing with VR where like
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of them
so
is kind of like built around the idea that maybe VR will work.
Yeah, we don't
Let's
know
try
yet.
it. Yeah,
Let's
let's
put out as
see
many
something,
Skyrims
yeah.
as possible.
Yeah,
But
pretty
that's where
much.
like the developers are. They're making for PC. They're making for Xboxes. They're making for PlayStations. They're
Right.
making for VR. They're making for Switches. They're making for 3DS. Like, there's a lot. Like, which game is this platform we're gonna go to? I don't know. And like, I think that's where you get this in between. But like Brian said, like back to like the story itself is Sony has a lot of deals with third-party developers. Why they're not necessarily in a deal to say, like, you can't do this for Xbox, but like
It's
you
a
said,
partnership.
it's a partnership
Some
that
quid
you don't
pro
want to.
quo.
Yeah.
Is really what's
Yeah,
kinda
you
going
don't
down.
want to go help out their
Right.
competitors, right? So it'll be interesting to see, and especially like a game like Destiny. Like they have how they keep saying they have a 10-year plan for Destiny and stuff like that. So like you wonder how long this would partnership with Sony would go. And the way it's going, like they have like all the third-party developers, coming their way.
Yep.
Which
I mean, their install base is bigger.
Yeah.
So it just naturally
yeah.
makes sense for third-party studios. So
But I know that in a story that's kind of related to this, like Bungie came out and saying how like the premium DLC only for Sony last year for Destiny kind of ruined the game in a couple different ways. Where it ruined the game in the sense where you're splitting the player base on Xbox and PlayStation, because now PlayStation has different weapons than Xbox does, but they do like their weekly events, like their Nightfalls, right?
Yeah.
And their Nightfalls, they do it across all platforms. And because PlayStation has different maps than Xbox, they can't use those maps or those missions on a Nightfall because it runs on both systems.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the guy that sells all the weapons, Xur.
Yep.
They do all that together as well, so they can't put the PS4 player weapons onto Xur. So the PS4 players even have a tough time getting the weapons, and they have a tough time playing the maps because they can't do it separated.
Yeah.
So it's like this.
Exclusive DLCs kind of sound.
Well, I mean, it's
different.
just it's more
Horseshit.
work. It's more work for the developer, and who knows? Maybe Sony is paying them a hell of a lot more money to do that. But even still, like that's a lot of work, and it's
like music releases where it's like, oh, you got to go to Target to get the extra track.
Yeah.
Then you go to Walmart, you get a different extra fucking bonus track on a CD. It's like, what the
Yep.
fuck are we doing here? Why? Can we just?
That's why Napster was so good.
yeah, wasn't
a-
too bad.
That's a
That's a
deep cut.
callback. It's a real big
Napster.
callback.
So sticking with Xbox and Sony, Xbox responds to Sony's explanation for no PS4 crossplay for Minecraft.
Minecraft, huh? So we talked a little bit about this on our Nintendo press conference reaction video, which you can find on youtube.com/pixelatedpoints. We talked about how Rocket League on the Nintendo Switch is going to be cross-play with PC and Xbox One, but not Sony PlayStation 4. And this sounds like Sony is, again, putting the big old kibosh
Stick in the mud.
stick in the mud on Minecraft as well. So, Gary,
Yeah.
please elaborate.
So it said head of Xbox Phil Spencer doesn't agree with Sony's explanation for why there's no PlayStation 4 crossplay with Minecraft. So Sony Interactive Entertainment Global Sales and Marketing Head Jim Ryan defended PS4's lack of crossplay support for Minecraft, saying that while Sony has no philosophical stance against crossplay at all, it's concerned with its players' safety on non-PlayStation platforms. In an interview with Giant Bomb, Phil Spencer disagreed, saying Ryan's comments don't seem healthy for anyone. The fact that someone would make an assertion that somehow we're not keeping Minecraft players safe, I found not only from a Microsoft perspective, but from a game industry perspective, I don't know why that has to become the dialogue. Spencer then went on to reassure that the safety of Minecraft players across all platforms, not just on Xbox One, is incredibly important to Xbox. We would never put Minecraft in a place where we felt like we weren't keeping our players safe. He said, despite his disagreement with Sony's excuse, Spencer reiterated he's still very much open to changing things.
So, while I disagree with Sony's reason as to why they want to do it, I can see as to their hesitation. Think about it this way, right? If I was your client, right, and you're in charge of making sure that my online infrastructure is safe, and you are doing this partnership with somebody else that you're unsure of if it's going to be secure, if you don't know 100%, are you willing to take that chance? Especially now, remember, if you're Sony, with the PS3, they had that huge breach,
Yeah, they have a
and the PlayStation Network was down for like 9 months.
Yeah.
Now, when you're on top, you have everything that you need. Would you go ahead and take this risk with your clients? While I disagree with them, I still think it makes business sense.
Why would Microsoft take the risk? Sony's the one that fucked it online shit up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Sony is taking the risk by doing that if they don't have the resources to make it work, or they don't want to put those resources there.
So you're saying their online is so hackable that they don't want to risk?
It's happened.
Sure.
Then that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't, me as a business person, if I know that my shit is secure now, I don't want to touch it at all. I just want to make sure that it's safe.
I think Phil Spencer is kind of saying, I mean, and this is where he's saying, like, they're pretty much throwing it out there that we're secure as PlayStation. We're secure. We don't trust these guys.
That's what I thought, which I think is funny.
And that's kind of like how he was saying. Whereas,
and I agree with that's kind of what I think he's saying as well.
yeah. And where, like, Phil Spencer is saying, like, wait a second, like, if you're not secure in your systems, like, don't blame us. We put a lot of security. We make sure everyone's safe. Like, pretty much saying, don't put us into this. And, like, it's not good for the industry. And he keeps saying in both articles, he's saying this isn't good for the industry. And, he's just speaking that lingo. But it's interesting that he's coming out and vocalizing, like, up against PlayStation on what they're saying versus what he's saying, and kind of going back and forth. And I think it's something that Xbox needs to do, because, like, you gotta just take small jabs at it.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
Pull Minecraft off PS4. Who gives a shit?
At that point,
I've never seen every kid I've seen playing it on the computer. They're playing it on their fucking tablet or phone.
But it is one of those things.
But the thing is, when it sells on PlayStation, Microsoft's making it.
Well, I mean, they're making money, but I mean, what's the?
It is bad.
I'm
for
sure
the
they
industry.
got the numbers, but
it is very bad for the industry. It would be nice to be able to cross-play, especially with these kind of, like, not so competitive games. Like Rocket League competitive, sure.
I mean,
but like
I just don't
Minecraft, it would be a hell of a lot of fun.
I don't see what the downside is. If they want to come out and say, "Oh, we can't handle this because we suck with." Like, we don't have the resources to do it, or
we just don't want to put the resources
or
into
we
it.
don't want to put the resources into it, or our security or whatever sucks. Nintendo understands shittiness of online infrastructure. They would be sympathetic to that if they just came out and said it. But I don't see how it's anything other than really just a dick move, saying, "Oh, we don't want to let you play with our players." We're the market leader right now.
I think
Go
that
fuck yourself.
what Phil Spencer is doing is not only is he taking small jabs, but he's backing them into a corner and
It's making them seem like pieces of shit.
Yeah, putting the spotlight on them, being like, "Hey, we're extending the olive branch.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing the same?"
And
it's
he'll
like,
still take a small jab, and then at the very end of it, he's still like, "But I'm still open to it."
yeah, and I'm still the nice guy in this scenario.
Like,
so
they're the ones that won't. Like
it is a very smart PR twist to make Microsoft seem like the better, company. And to be honest with you, they kind of are right now. Like, they're doing the whole goodwill thing, the Games Pass.
Yeah.
They're just
they have a
all
lot
of their
of good
stuff.
things going for their system and their product,
And their
especially now
community.
with PC, and like all these new games that are coming out on Xbox are also coming out on PC, and they're integrating Windows, and they're integrating that, and that's, I think, good for the direction of gaming and everything like that. And the fact that they just don't have the third party games, or they don't have the exclusive games, they don't have the games to back up what their system's doing. Because if the roles, like, say Microsoft had all the games and the Xbox One X, and PlayStation was sitting in their position with games with the PS4 Pro, roles would just be like, it would be crushed.
Well,
it
that
just
happened last generation. All that's happened is the roles have reversed.
Yeah.
Last generation, the 360 was killing it.
Yeah.
And Sony wasn't. And Microsoft kind of did the same shit. They didn't do the cross-platform shit. Like, there was we did have a cross-platform issue last generation too.
Yep.
Where it wasn't really happening, but Microsoft was the one kind of pushing against that. And so it's just kind of the market leader being a piece of shit. But I just think now, where we are with online play, it's going to become like, no, this actually does need to happen.
It's gonna
regardless.
happen.
It's going to happen.
It's
right.
gonna
Yeah.
happen. It's just when it happens.
Exactly. And
whether
so
it's
right
these
now,
consoles
Sony's
or
getting
X.
more fucked because it's like, well, we're getting closer and closer where it's like, no, this is inevitable. You just are the one being the piece of shit about it.
Yeah, like,
so
even
you're going to
Nintendo's
look
doing
right. You're going to look way worse now than Microsoft looked when they were doing it back then, because
Yeah.
that
There's
back
more
then it was more of a
spotlight.
it was more pie in the sky. Like, oh, wouldn't it be great if
Yeah.
we
Now it's more of a reality.
Now it's more like it's easier to do.
Yeah.
It's like something that's way more
I
realistic.
mean, you have developers coming out and saying like
Right.
it's ready.
yeah, it's good.
It's
yeah,
ready.
We
all-
coded everything's all good to go.
Yeah,
Just,
like the Rocket League
yeah.
developers were saying that it's ready to go, but PS4, like PlayStation, just needs to flip a switch, and they just refuse
Right.
to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's pretty much. You know.
all right.
I mean,
Steve,
I
you
see
got
both sides. I see both
Oh, I can
sides
see
of it.
why they. You know.
Just play
But it's-
middleman Brian.
That's what I'm doing. I delegate here.
Okay. Perfect.
So I think the last thing we got is an interview with
Second to
Reggie.
last thing, Steve.
What's that?
Second to last.
Second to last. All
Yeah.
right. So,
No points for you.
well, good thing we're not doing that. Is a interview with Reggie Fils-Aimé on Glixel.
Is that French?
You would know. Fils-Aimé. I can't. I'm not even gonna
Fils
do the accent.
May is definitely not
Polish.
French.
Polish. All
It's
right.
Polish. We're gonna call it Polish.
Sure.
So it's just an interview about a bunch of shit. So I'm just gonna kind of pull out some of the stuff I thought was interesting. That I clearly scrolled past. What the fuck? So one of the questions that was asked
Mike.
was, all right. So one of the questions that was asked was, can we talk about the journey Nintendo's been on? The Switch is out now, and it's been a success. The Wii U was tough for Nintendo. What's it been like this past year? So he says, let me go even further back. When I joined Nintendo, we had Game Boy Advance. That was going great guns. We had GameCube, and I just joined after GameCube had been price reduced down to $99. Just within that same time frame, having one platform that's doing exceptionally well and another not, it gave me an opportunity to learn in terms of, okay, how do you manage through cycles? Because this business is cyclical business. Some days you're up, some days you're down. And then the interviewer interjects, and you can't control what the competition is doing. Right, you can't. And even to that point, I remember having a conversation with Mr. Iwata and asking him directly, what is it like when at E3 all Sony did was mention that they were working on a PlayStation Portable device, and our stock, I think, took something like a 15% haircut. So then when we transitioned to the DS and Wii generation to massive devices, the DS over its life sold over 150 million units and the Wii over 100. There were years that from a Nintendo of America perspective, we were selling 20 million pieces of hardware, just Nintendo of America. Then we transitioned to the 3DS and the Wii U generation and the 3DS. Though it was slow out the gate, as we sit here today, is 66 million units sold as of last reporting. So certainly a healthy, vibrant business. So what does this all mean? Well, first, it means that this company's been around the block and knows what it's like to have systems that people just can't wait to get their hands on that aren't comparable. What we talk about internally is that you can't get too excited when things are going really well, and you can't get too depressed when things are not, because just one game can make the difference. One game. So I thought that was kind of like interesting point of view
On the Switch.
on the Switch, but just on how the cycle works in consoles.
Yeah, I would say so. I thought that was interesting. I actually didn't know that he came in right when they dropped the GameCube to $100.
Yeah, I think what was it when he gave that big kicking ass and taking names?
Yep.
It was right around. It was what 2005, I think.
Well, he's a big opposing person. Like he's a
Right.
big man, and then he's up on stage there, and he's like, my name is Reggie, and I kick ass and I take names," or something like that. Or here at Nintendo, we kick ass and we take names. And you're like, all right, I see what you're doing here, Reggie. It's weird. I don't know. Like the way that he just kind of spoke about it was, like we had our ups and downs, but what kind of stood out to me was the one big game. And it sounds like that one big game, at least for me, was on the Wii. It was Wii Sports, obviously.
Right.
And then you have, obviously, Breath of the Wild on the Switch. And I feel like that is the turn of the tide where he kind of focused on, hey, the one game that really makes the difference. And you look back at the Wii U, and it's like, what did the Wii U have? I guess the best thing they had was Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
If you say it, like if you had to take a guess, and that came out too late. Like if that was maybe right out of the gate, it might have sold better. But again, that's kind of what I took away from that interview was that he was saying, our consoles need that one game to kind of turn the tide. And I feel like Game Boy Advance was already doing well, and from when he took over, it was from GameCube that was struggling to the Wii, and then the Wii U that didn't.
Well, because it comes down to this as well. Like for those like PlayStation and Xbox, even if their launches don't have games, people are going to be buying them because they know the games are coming,
Yep.
right?
Not to
But
mention the third parties.
third parties. And then when you have a system like the Wii U and the Switch, having that big game puts these consoles into people's hands, right? So everyone bought a Switch for Zelda. Now everyone's beating Zelda. ARMS comes out. There's no other games to really play, so they're like, I really want to play my Switch. I really like Zelda. They're going to keep buying these games because there's nothing else to play on them. So when they have their games and they do it in a smart way where they
Every month.
every month
month
there's
you get something new.
There's something new coming out. So then they're continuously buying these games, and then they're like, hold on, like Mario's coming now, and so now more people are going to be buying them. And it's a way to kick off the system.
He talks about that, I think, early in the interview or maybe later, about how they've focused on really making sure that there is a steady flow of games. And I think that's actually happening this time.
Oh, very much so. Unlike the Wii, the
Right.
Wii U was brutal. The Switch has something every 2 months, like a major game every 2 months.
I mean, but what I took away from that little comment is just I like the philosophy of understanding the console cycle. Like they, not for now anyway, not thinking that the highs are going to last, and then that when they get to those low periods, like you could go back to the N64 or to the GameCube or the Wii U, where they thought, like a lot of people, you get the articles like they're doomed.
Yeah.
But never really counting themselves out, knowing that no, this business is a cycle. Like
We'll come back around.
There's nothing, we're not going anywhere. Like as long as we focus on
What we want
what
to
we
do.
want to do, and I think that's a great. I mean, it's good to know that that's the way they look at it. That they're never really think. I mean, because to me, it's just more of an the company that thinks they're fucking done is probably going to
Sega.
be done.
Sega.
You've already been done for the last 5 years.
Right, exactly. So,
It's certainly an interesting way to think about it.
right.
So
They mentioned something that I thought was interesting too. It relates more to E3. They go, is that why Kirby and Yoshi are very simple brand names, which feels like a reboot? Are you seeing a generational shift? So Reggie goes, certainly we constantly have to reintroduce people to our IP, Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm a huge Zelda fan, but I recognize there were 15-year-olds who didn't know what Zelda was, didn't know the magic of the franchise, and creating something that they could own and say, this is my Zelda, this is fun, this is a game I want to play, was critically important. And yes, we're doing that with Metroid, and we're doing that with Yoshi, and we're doing that with Kirby. We have to continuously. Folks like us continue to play these franchises that we love, but we constantly have to refill that pipeline with new fans who engage with these intellectual properties. And there's a follow-up question that he asked. So he says, does that explain Nintendo's push into mobile after years of staying away? And so he goes certainly it's about getting an American child who's 10 to have a great Super Mario experience, but it's also about getting an adult in India who's never had access to a Nintendo platform but heard about this thing called Super Mario to engage them, to get them engaged. Korea, China, all these markets have historically not have great access to our content and now have access to our IP. So that was
it's actually kind of funny because I have a coworker who's from Russia, and so whenever the topic of video games come up, he has the most obscure things that he brings up because they didn't have the NES. Yeah. Like he didn't have an NES growing up. He had some sort of Russian version of it, some sort of knockoff thing, and he brought up a character, and he was like, "How do you not know this character?" And I was like, I don't know. And he brought him up, and he was like, look, he's very famous. And I had no idea who he was. It was just a Russian game on an old video game.
To me, it sounds like they don't have any third parties, so we're just going to keep pumping these things out. And regardless of they're trying to get the new generation, the old generation, it's we love Mario, so now we need to make a new Mario for the people that didn't experience Mario before. Or what you could do if you had third-party support and you didn't have to pump out these games is leave Mario where he was or whatever it may be and let people enjoy the nostalgia of those old games when you're recreating the NES Classic and all these other things. But
I kind of agree. I disagree though, in the sense of video games are very different. It's tougher for new. I think he's right in the sense of you do have to reintroduce these characters. It's not like right now.
But do we?
It's not
really
like the
need a Kirby.
Well, if you never heard of Kirby, you don't know. And my point is, it's tougher in the sense of like, yeah, you can reintroduce new kids to The Lion King because a movie is an easy way to do that. But with the way video games are structured now, it's getting better with virtual console shit, but you can't just necessarily give them, Super Mario Brothers 3 and say, this is Mario. Like, and then every generation wants to have their own. I mean, I think him saying, yeah, this is your generation Zelda in the same way I think of Ocarina of Time as mine. Mm-hmm. And lots of people who are, 35 plus think of A Link to the Past as their Zelda, And some people fucking talk about Skyward Sword like it's the greatest fucking Zelda. I think it's shit, but that's
agree.
theirs, I think that happens with a lot of games. Like you think, Halo 2 is yours, but then you got fucks that probably think Halo 4 is the fucking greatest.
Well, that's exactly
the
it.
thing.
That's the
I'm
mentality.
playing devil's advocate
know.
to this, but I mean, I think it's cool. I think they've made a lot of smart choices. I mean, we talked about the fucking Switch for like years. It felt like, but when it finally came out, like they're doing things the right way. They're doing things smart, and they've really got those people. They got the Switches in the hands, and they got the games coming out for it. Whether they're
I just think
putting
it's
a
the
symbol up there and
philosophy of
saying that Metroid's coming
hearing
in
how they think
2025.
about video games is.
Yeah. I mean, it is also they do need stuff. So like after Mario, what do you have? After Mario, what do you have? So you already did Zelda. You have a Mario at the end of this year. You need a Yoshi. You need a Kirby. You need a DK, and then Metroid hopefully comes out. I don't think it's coming out next year. I think at the very latest
you're
or
right
earliest.
With your date, yeah, go on.
The very earliest is you're getting 2019. You know what I mean? That's the very earliest.
I would think late 2000, like holiday 2019, if it even makes that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what but you need those IPs because they're running out of IPs to come out. So like maybe what do they show next year? Maybe they show Smash Brothers next year. Maybe they show DK next year. Maybe in one of these directs they go, here's the Pokemon game that we're working on. They do need games and they need to rely on their first party IPs because they're not getting third party developers.
After 3 years, just put together another Zelda.
There you go.
I mean,
you understand. Restart the cycle, and you're good to go.
And then you get another Kirby, another Yoshi, and then it's just like the same. 5 games
you get
just every year.
You get ARMS and Splatoon now. They are taking risks, which is what I like to see. Even if the games, like I don't like Splatoon, but I like to see that they are kind of focusing on that, like introducing them into.
Well,
Mario
there are people
Kart.
that do. And if that helps sell consoles and gives them money to then make I mean, it's kind of like the argument you made with, was it Ubisoft? Or EA's, or was it?
Ubisoft.
It was Ubisoft, where it's like, well, if EA can make a shit ton of money off of Madden, but will then use that money to funnel into their
more indie
games, then
so be it.
Fucking do it.
I will buy every Assassin's Creed to get more Valiant Hearts. More Valiant Hearts.
I mean, the problem, devil's advocate in me would say that the reason why Splatoon sells well is just because they don't have any other multiplayer first-person shooters or third-person shooters or really anything else. So, of course, people are going to buy Splatoon because they have no other games to play.
I will tell you that I won't buy Splatoon 2 after being burnt on the first one. So,
yeah, but you're an intelligent person.
True. But that's what I'm saying.
And yours is also an American market. In Japan, they seem to just fucking love it, where they don't like first-person shooters in general.
Japan. The Koreans.
I'm kind of talking about Japan, but
yeah, I
don't know what the Koreans are playing.
StarCraft.
RTS, yeah, playing StarCraft.
The Koreans are the best Overwatch team in the world. They're pretty good at it.
Yeah, but the way that the market goes is that Splatoon sells huge in Japan. It is just like their bread and butter over there. Ba-ding.
I'm done with this conversation.
But you should read the rest of the interview. It's pretty
Where
good.
is it? Where is it?
Glixel.com.
Glixel.
I think it's a subsidy of or it's Rolling Stones video game thing. So yeah.
All right. So I think what we're gonna wrap up with is an article based off of E3 2017, 20 games missing from E3 2017.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna I haven't even gone through the full list, but I'm just interested in these are I'm guessing going to be games that we've seen in the past and we might have been expecting.
And been like, where the fuck have that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
forgot about
I mean,
that.
the first game definitely came to mind was Animal Crossing Mobile.
Yeah. You kind of imagined
Sure,
that they
yeah.
would show a little bit of something on
Something
that.
of that.
Nothing.
This game I actually thought was gonna be there was Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh,
So-
I remember that.
I would say that wouldn't really be there because I feel like CD Projekt Red never really shows off their shit too much, and not to mention that they just got hacked recently. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Where they were like, "Hey, just so you know, a group of hackers stole a bunch of our information retaining to the story and development of characters. So avoid that if you don't want it spoiled, because they're holding us at ransom
And we're not
paying them." And which I
love
thought was
that.
fucking awesome. Like,
Yeah.
good
And
for
they
you.
were also
We
like-
don't deal with terrorism. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Goddamn Nazis.
But I thought that was awesome. I'd love to see more of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game I'm super interested in. Obviously, The Witcher. I mean, they make The Witcher. You know this game is going to be fucking awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I was, I guess sad. I didn't get to see that. But they did show
That's the word. Sad.
Sad.
Yeah.
I'm,
That's definitely the word.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, Brian. Dynasty Warriors 9.
I'm not sad that I missed
No,
that.
me either. So we're moving right past that. Death Stranding. So I think an article came out before E3 stating that Death Stranding wasn't being shown.
Yeah, Kojima said he was not showing it off, but then he was on the show floor with a bunch
Yeah.
of people a couple days before the show started, and they were like, "Oh
What?
shit!"
There was an image that went up. It was like a spider web, and it was like kind of figure it out. It's a tease. I mean, this game's not coming out till 2020. I mean,
Try 2022.
Yeah.
Don't even know
So
what this
I mean,
game
I'm
is.
super excited.
If
for
I had
it.
the button here,
Yep, no, he's knocking through it. But that game looks awesome. Dreams.
Oh, they're in so much trouble. Quantic Dream, right? Who's the developer of this?
The next game from Little Big Planet's developer.
Yeah, what's whatever
Media
Media
Molecule.
Molecule. These motherfuckers have been working on Dreams since PlayStation showed off the PlayStation Move control.
Yeah,
on
it's like
PS3.
next gen creation platform.
Oh god,
And has much more
I feel
flexibility than Little Big Planet.
I feel really
excited.
bad for this. It looks cool and the concept is great, and they say that it's there. It's been in development for so long, and I see all of these Sony third-party studios or second-party studios closing, and they've got to be next on the chopping block.
So it says the beta is still reportedly on the way for 2017.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll hold my breath.
I wouldn't do that. Deep Down.
Yeah. Remember Deep Down?
Yeah, Deep Down was that it was like a medieval, looked kind of Dark Souls-ish type game.
It was just kind of like a proof of concept thing.
Yeah,
when the
and that
PS4
was-
launched back
that
in
was 2013.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be, they said the co-op dungeon crawler was subsequently revealed to be a free-to-play game. Delays ensued. This doesn't sound good.
Yeah, that's probably
That's-
never
that's
going to
not-
be there.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I think Chris said
what
something
the fuck
about
happened
that.
to that?
It's not going to be. I honestly think that they're going to do, because they're breaking it up into 3 parts. I think that they're going to show
Fucking
one
garbage.
part every year. I think that maybe next year you get it. Part 1, part 2 is in 2019, and part 3 is 2020.
Gross. Hitman Season 2. So I know
Well,
Brian, you've been waiting on that.
That just broke today that IO
Got
Interactive
all the rights to it.
got all of the rights to the Hitman series, so they can continue to make season 2 if they plan to do so,
Yep.
which is awesome. So congratulations to IO
Yeah, I only played the
Interactive.
first episode because it came out
Episodically.
episodically. Thank you, Brian. It was a lot of fun, though. I mean, I'm sure the game's going to go on a Steam sale or something. Steam
And
summer
you're just
sale's
gonna
coming,
pick it up?
and I'll just pick it up. Let's see here. The Last of Us Part 2. We mentioned that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they showed it off and then it was completely absent.
Yep.
Maybe it's because Days Gone, they didn't want to step on each other's toes. They're spacing it out because Days Gone will probably be out before next E3, and then Last of Us 2 will kind of
Yep.
be shown.
Mother 3.
Oh Jesus, this is can we stop? Can we have Nintendo fans please stop with this shit? There's already a fucking translation of it online. Just play that
There
one.
it is. Yep.
I don't get it. Nintendo doesn't want to do it. Leave it alone. I know it's easy for them, and it's just like a myth at this point. Let
Doesn't
it
sound
go.
like it's happening. Phantasy Star 2 Online.
I want that.
No, you don't.
What was it? What happened with that? What is that?
I want that. You're gonna cut that piece.
No, I cut
It
nothing.
was.
That's a lot of work.
let's see, Sega has still provided no indication on when this game will be brought to the West.
Was that like a remake?
No, it's like a sequel.
It said back.
Oh, it
in,
was Fantasy Star Online 2.
Yeah.
It said back in 2012 that this game would be coming.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I think I might have been hyped back then.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Pikmin 4.
So this is a strange one. This is really strange because Miyamoto has come out and said that he's been working on Pikmin 4 for a little while. And this was back before like the Switch hype was even a thing.
Yeah, it was like he basically said almost right after 3 came out, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a couple years after. I think it was like 2 years after.
Was it 2?
Yeah. So he kind of like talked about this, and people like, whoa, 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 whoa.
It was kind of like a
Pikmin
passing comment, wasn't
4, yeah. He said it very quickly, and they were like, wait, Pikmin 4? And he was like, yeah, I'm slowly working on it. And then like everyone was like, oh, this is news to us. Usually you show that off in like a direct or whatever. And he was just like, yeah, I'm working on it. And he slowly said like, yeah, we're slowly making progress on it. We're doing tweaks here and there, but like no official information except from his mouth.
Awesome.
Has anyone said anything about Pikmin 4?
I look forward to it.
Red Dead Redemption 2. And this thing I think is just because Rockstar does whatever the fuck they want.
Rockstar doesn't go to E3.
Yeah, no, they don't give a shit. They're gonna release the gameplay footage when they want. They're gonna do their own thing. But
And
I
it'll
am
come
sad.
out and sell as more copies than any other game besides Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yep.
6. I need 6.
You're not getting 6 for a while, handsome.
Oh my god. Better be an 80s one though. Let's go back to
Resident
the 80s
Evil
again.
2 remake.
No one gives a fuck. I don't give a shit.
I mean, I liked Resident Evil 2. I don't want a remake of it. And if they do a remake, I want over the shoulder, like,
Yeah, so I mean, basically they're just saying because Capcom with some excellent looking remakes announced, Shadow of Colossus, Metroid: Samus Returns, it would have been exciting to see.
yeah, oh, definitely.
See here, getting close to the end. Respawn Star Wars game.
Yeah.
We completely forgot about this game. So this is the game that is. I think it's just 1313. I'm hoping. I'm still hoping that it is. But
I wish 1313
But
was
this
still a
is the
thing.
game that is the third person
Action
story
adventure
Star Wars
that
game
Amy Hennig is working on. Yeah.
And it's actually kind of true because last year they showed a little glimpse of what
They
was
showed
happening.
it was like somebody's on Tatooine and he walks out of a house.
Yeah, that was really it. And then they were just showing the developers working on it. But they really just pushed for Battlefront 2.
Which makes sense.
It does, because that's coming out now. But, I wish I saw something on that. What is this game? Shenmue 3?
Shenmue 3.
Shenmue. Yeah, so is this the game that...
Kickstarter,
Yeah,
yeah.
and everyone freaked out and
yeah.
it's still not here. Yeah.
Well, that is not coming out soon.
Yeah,
They
no.
just delayed it. They just delayed it out of 2017 into I think late 2018.
There you go. Sucker Punch's new game.
Yeah,
for
what the
Sony.
fuck are you guys doing out
Yeah,
there?
so the last game was what? Infamous?
They did the DLC Last Light, which probably came out in 2013, 2014,
Yeah.
and they've been very quiet since. Clearly, they're working on something. They're
Yeah.
one of Sony's biggest developers, so they're doing something.
Super Smash Bros. For the Switch.
Not until next year. Maybe they'll show it at a direct at some point later in the year, but that's not a.
Wasn't really a thing.
Not a
we're gonna get.
2017.
I think we're gonna get the port before we get.
Oh,
a Smash.
I think we're gonna get a port. I don't think we're getting a new. We won't get Smash.
I don't think we might
5.
not even ever get a new Smash, with the way.
We're going to get nostalgia. We need this generation Smash Brothers.
He's not wrong.
Oh, that's true.
Come on, Steve. Be consistent.
Smash is a game though, but it's a fighting game. You just fucking keep porting that shit.
Although I will say that like the best Smash is Melee, and people still play that in the Evo circuit. So like maybe just port that on over.
There you
That'd be
go.
nice.
There was the rumors of that happening,
Well-
or the GameCube Virtual Console situation.
Yeah.
That should be in the fucking list.
Yeah. The new Tomb Raider. I think we kind of We've discussed this.
There's
off
Night
air.
Trap in that list. What's going on with that?
No, there's no Night Trap.
You say that, and I still think it's too early, even though I know it came out 13, 15, and 2017 would be the logical next step. I still think that's too early. Yeah. It's weird to think that, like, I didn't feel that way when it was coming out in 2015, but I still think it's too early.
Yeah. And the last game is Visceral Star Wars game, which is actually the game that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So there's Visceral Star Wars game that the game is at. I'm actually excited about it. And then there's the Respawn Star Wars game.
There's too many fucking Star Wars
Yeah.
games.
So you
going
got
on right now.
confused.
We got confused. Visceral.
So what's
is,
the other one that you?
Who cares?
That's one that.
Right, Respawn is the first-person shooter developer. They usually do a.
They did Titanfall.
Yeah, they do
That's the one I
Titanfall.
want.
No, you don't. Yeah, they're
I
gonna.
don't fucking
It's gonna
know.
be Republic Commander 2. Do you remember that one?
I need Rogue
Yeah.
Squadron 4.
I don't think that's
I
happening.
don't think that's happening, handsome.
But yeah,
What?
no, that's
Lucas
so.
Arts.
LucasArts is now gone,
more.
sir.
Yeah, so
Debunked.
that's the list that they had. I mean, I definitely kind of agree with a lot that was on that list. I think Steve, you mentioned it. Where the fuck is the Super NES?
Yeah.
I did not
NES
mention
classic.
that.
I mean, you were mentioning about GameCube and stuff, so I just kind of
Yeah,
took it
but
from
like-
you and put that Inception in your brain, and then took that thought and just spoke it.
Yeah. I feel like, well,
You're
apparently
adding one on the list. What you're
the
saying?
Microsoft survey was like, what did you think of the Super
Yeah.
NES Classic? And people were like, oh, is that fake or is that real? And
Well, I didn't think they were going to announce it at E3 though.
no, you have
I think it's
enough
just going to
big
be like one
things.
day. It's just going to be like, hey,
Hey, we're doing,
doing this, and
Hey,
we don't
maybe-
have enough of them.
maybe
so
that's-
get on your ass. You know the
5
drill.
available.
Yeah. You know the drill. You saw what happened with the
I'll
NES
probably
Classic.
That's
still get one. So
maybe that's their November launch. You know what I mean? They still don't have a November game. Maybe that's the one.
Or it's never coming.
maybe
Or it's
we
never
just
coming.
Figured it out.
Maybe it just Shyamalan'd it into existence.
Love it.
But that's going to be it for, I guess, this episode of the Drunken News. We're going to take a quick break and come right back with what we're doing on our site, our Twitter handles, and all that jazz. Stick around, fellas and ladies.